Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Real quick, this is brought to you by CertFuel. If you're tackling the Series 7, they've got a full course with adaptive study quizzes, smart flashcards, and unlimited practice exams that are weighted just like the real thing. It's an absolute lifesaver, so definitely check it out at certfuel.com. Okay, let's jump right into the good stuff. Today, we are tearing apart trading and settlement. We're going to lock in the exact rules of how securities change hands, and honestly, more importantly, we're going to expose those nasty little traps FINRA absolutely loves to set for you.
To kick things off, let's test your instincts with a massive exam trap. Our favorite agent of chaos, Carla the customer, decides to buy a when-issued municipal bond, and Riley the rep executes the trade. So, I want you to pause this explainer right now and answer this. What's the settlement date? Is it T+1? Is it P+2? Make your guess.
Did you guess? Well, it's a total trick question. There's actually no set settlement date. When issued securities like new muni issues or stock splits are trading before the security actually exists in its final form. Settlement is only fixed after the securities are actually issued. Honestly, if the issue gets canceled, the whole trade just vanishes into thin air. But don't worry, Sam the supervisor is here to keep Carla, Riley, and you totally out of trouble when these weird scenarios pop up.
Section 1, Settlement Cycles and X-Dates, or, as I like to call it, Carla wants her cash and her dividends.
You've got to lock this huge number into your brain. For almost everything on your exam, we're talking stocks, corporate bonds, municipal bonds, ETFs, options, and U.S. government securities. Regular way settlement is trade date plus 1 business day, T+1. And remember, T is always the trade date, and weekends or market holidays, yeah, those absolutely do not count as business days. Now, here is where T+1 creates a crazy domino effect for dividends. Under T+1 settlement, the ex-dividend date is the exact same day as the record date. Why? Because it literally takes 1 business day for a trade to settle. Think about it. If the company checks their record book on Tuesday and you buy the stock on Tuesday, you won't settle until Wednesday. You're too late. So to get that sweet dividend cash, Riley needs to make sure Carla buys the day before the ex-date. Okay, so once Carla actually owns the stock, 2 very specific entities step in, and the exam totally loves to make you confuse them. First up, the Registrar. Think of them as the bouncer at an exclusive club. Their only job is to make sure companies don't print too many shares and over-issue stock. Then you have the transfer agent. They are the behind-the-scenes paperwork nerds handling the actual ownership changes on the books. And get this, they're also the ones who have to validate a certificate if Carla accidentally spills her triple-shot espresso on it and mutilates it. Section 2. DVP, fails, and good delivery. Carla brings a ghost stock certificate. Time for a quick pattern interrupt. Imagine Carla marches into the branch office and drops a 150-share physical stock certificate right on Riley the rep's desk. It belonged to her deceased grandfather, and to save time, she just grabbed a pen and forged his signature on the back. Pause the explainer right now. Is this considered good delivery? No way. That is absolutely bad delivery, and it's a massive exam trap. First off, good delivery for physical stock requires exact divisors of 100, multiples of 100, or combinations that perfectly add up to 100. 150 shares on a single certificate? Not an exact divisor of 100. Second, you cannot just forge a dead person's signature. A deceased owner requires proper legal documents. And finally, if you are endorsing a certificate, you need a medallion signature guarantee to mathematically prove you are who you say you are. Sam the supervisor is definitely having a heart attack right about now. And honestly, this beautifully illustrates why massive institutions don't mess around with paper certificates from dead grandpas. They use DVP and RVP. This is a simultaneous exchange where securities and cash swap hands at the exact same instant. DVP, or delivery versus payment, is the buyer's view. RVP is the seller's view. But here is the trap. If the exam asks if Carla can use this for her retail account, the answer is a hard no. This setup requires a separate custodian bank, so it is strictly for institutional accounts. All right, let's throw Riley the rep into the hot seat. Let's say Riley messes up big time, and his broker-dealer outright fails to deliver the stock they sold to another firm on settlement day. Pause the explainer and tell me, does the trade just cancel? Do they just get to walk away? Nope. A fail absolutely does not cancel the trade. That contract stays entirely binding. The remedy here is a buy-in or a sellout. If Riley's firm fails to deliver, the buyer can execute a buy-in 3 business days later to get the stock somewhere else, and Riley's failing firm has to pay any difference in price. Basically, you mess up, you pay up. Section 3, Reporting Systems Alphabet Soup. Welcome to Sam the Supervisor's literal nightmare. Sam is sweating because every single trade Riley executes has to be reported within 15 minutes. Lock these acronyms into your brain right now because FINRA loves testing them. TRACE is the system for corporate bonds. It does not cover munis or treasuries. For municipal bonds, dealers report to RTRS, which feeds the free public site called EMMA. And for over-the-counter stocks, you use the TRF, the Trade Reporting Facility. Let's say it one more time. TRACE is for corporates, RTRS feeds EMMA for munis, and TRF is for OTC stocks. Do not get these crossed on test day.
Section 4. The ultimate exam traps. Do not let FINRA trick you.
We're in the home stretch, and Carla, the customer, strikes again. She buys some stock in her cash account, but completely ignores Riley's phone calls and totally fails to pay by the outside deadline, which is T+3. That's regular T+1 settlement plus 2 extra grace business days. Her firm throws their hands up and liquidates her account to cover the cost. Pause the explainer. How many days is her account frozen?
90 days? But wait, here is the real exam trap. FINRA will try so hard to convince you that a 90-day freeze means Carla is banned from trading entirely. She is not. The freeze does not stop her from trading. It just means she lost her privilege of paying later. For those 90 days, she has to deposit 100% of the cash into her account entirely in advance before Riley is even allowed to enter a buy order for her.
Another huge trap is assuming an ATS, or alternative trading system, is an exchange. They are not. They actually register with the SEC as broker-dealers. Within this category, you have ECNs, which actively display their limit orders to the market for everyone to see. And then you have dark pools, which deliberately hide their massive institutional orders so they don't spook the market price. ECNs display, dark pools hide in the shadows. But remember, both are broker-dealers.
Section 5. Rapid Fire Recap. Let's lock it in. We're searing these into your memory. First up, cash trades. While regular weighs T+1, cash trades settle the exact same day, T+0. The buyer pays, the seller delivers, on the exact same day the trade occurs. Boom, done. Next, dividends. To actually get the cash dividend under our new T+1 world, you absolutely must die before the X date. Why? Because the X date is the exact same day as the record date now. If you buy on the X date, you settle one day too late to make the record book.
Next, confirmations. A trade confirmation must be sent by the settlement date, and it has to disclose the firm's capacity. If they acted as an agent, they charge a commission. If they acted as a principal, trading out of their own inventory, they charge a markup or markdown. And the absolute golden rule: a firm can never act as both agent and principal in the exact same transaction. Moving to options. If you are short an option, assignment is completely random through the OCC. And at expiration, the OCC will automatically exercise options if they are in the money by just 1 single penny. Literally, 1 cent is all it takes.
We've cleaned up all of Carla's chaos, and Sam, the supervisor, can finally breathe. But I'm going to leave you with one final test to keep you sharp. If a firm commitment new offering is priced super late, like after 4:30 p.m. Eastern, what is the settlement? Is it T+1 or T+2? I want you to think about it. Keep visualizing all these traps. Keep studying hard, and you are absolutely going to crush the Series 7.